Welcome to Podcast on TechNation. This is a series of podcasts focused specifically on the biomedical and HTM industry. Episodes will be added monthly. Listening to each episode is eligible for one CE credit from the ACI. At the conclusion of this episode, you will be able to access a link that will take you to a quick survey. You will be able to download your certificate once you submit the survey. Before we begin today's podcast, I'd like to invite you to our upcoming MD Expo. We will be in Houston, Texas, April the 11th to the 13th. Please visit mdexposhow.com for event details and registration information. Podcast on TechNation would like to thank our sponsor, Multi-Medical Systems. When you're in the business of protecting the health of patients, you don't have the time for malfunctioning medical equipment or dull surgical instruments. You need a reliable partner that can provide expert repair and planned maintenance to ensure you have patient-ready equipment that meets or exceeds OEM guidelines and regulatory requirements. For more information, visit multimedicalsystems.com. In this episode, we are joined by Angela Bennett, CHTM Senior Site Manager at TRIMEDX. She will discuss continuing your education as a biomed.
Welcome back to HTM Insider. Very excited about this episode today. I think there's a lot of biomeds that are going to tune in and maybe learn a little bit more about how to become a certified biomed. And today I have a very special guest on with us. Her name is Angela. I'm sure you've seen her maybe on LinkedIn. She is quite the force and the positive energy and somebody that I really admire. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Angela Bennett. Angela, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. My name is Angela Bennett. I've been in the field for about 9 to 10 years now. Started off as a 68 Alpha in the military, and then slowly progressed into civilian life, and here I am today.
Wow. And did you always think when you were younger that you wanted to be in electronics, or what drove you to seek out maybe electronics or healthcare technology?
Well, actually, no. I was going to school before I joined the Army. I was going to school to be a nurse and realized that I could not afford the schooling. So I joined the Army, and they didn't have anything that was comparable at the time that was open. So they were like, well, what do you think about Biomed? And I was like, well, what is that? And they explained it to me. I said, sounds great. It's in the medical field. I'm very excited. So that's kind of how I got into HTM. And when I was going through the training through the METC Biomed program down at Fort Sam, I just kind of fell in love with it. So I kind of stuck with it, and it's been great to me ever since.
Well, I want to thank you personally, and I know a lot of people will agree with me that you are such a positive force in the field, and it's just exciting to watch you. You're a great role model for men and women, but especially young women that might be looking for a career field in electronics or in healthcare. So I just want to thank you for just doing an amazing job and always being so positive and energetic when it comes to the healthcare technology field.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, and I'm very truly blessed to be able to do it. So very excited.
And I gotta say, yeah, listeners, if you don't know, Angela is gonna have number 2 on the way pretty soon. What an amazing thing. We talk about Beyonce doing this, being a mom and being on, national television halftime. But look at you, Angela. You are an HTM manager and a mom. Is it hard to juggle those things?
It was at first, but in reality, I've worked for some pretty great companies that have actually accommodated pretty well. So, very thankful and grateful for those companies that have allowed me to not only succeed at being a mom, but also succeed at being a HTM leader.
That's awesome. So let's focus in now what the episode's about. Being a certified biomed. So we hear the term BMET, we hear the term CBET, And there's a lot of other acronyms. Can you kind of clear up the myth, especially people who don't know how you might become a certified biomed?
Yeah, so a BMET is a biomedical equipment technician. So that's just your title, your standard title. And then you have your CBET, which is a certified biomedical equipment technician. So really nothing different except one is certified. They've gone through the certification program through AMI or ACI, and they've taken that initial step to really invest in their future and their career to get certified in their line of work.
So why is it important? Why do it?
It's really kind of important because, everybody wants to be great at what they're doing. They want to really succeed. They want to show that they're capable and able to do their job and do it well. Most of the time, it's just like any certification that you would want to get in any other career field. You want to get certified in what you're doing, and it really shows that you're invested in your own self and your own career. And if there's employers who will pay for or sponsor you to get certified, I mean, that just shows that they're investing in you as an employee.
So you brought up a great point. Pay for. Does it cost money?
It does. It does. Depending on which exam you're doing, because there are a lot of them. ACI offers a lot of them. ACI is the AMI Credentials Institute. It's the credentialing institute that certifies AMI, CBETs, and CRES, and CLES, CHTM. So there's a lot of different certification programs that they offer. But it just kind of depends. Price depends on if you're a member or not of AMI. So if you're a member, you do get a discount on the testing as well as the study material. And if you're not, it just kind of depends on that and which tests you're taking and if it's a retake or if it's your first time. So just kind of depends.
It sounds like maybe you should be a biomed for quite a while, or when do you get a chance to take this test? Because I'm not even sure.
Yeah, so in order to be eligible, so you can take the test at any point. However, there are some eligibility requirements that does require you to have some sort of background, if you will, in order for you to become eligible. So for example, CBET, you have to meet at least one of the following minimum eligibility requirements. So you either have to have your associate's degree or higher in biomed equipment technology program, and 2 years full-time BMET work. So you have to have either your associate's degree or higher plus 2 years of BMET work, or completion of the military biomed program and 2 years full-time BMET. So the biomed program is usually about a year, and then you have to have the 2 years of BMET work after that. Or you have to have your associate's degree or higher in electronics technology and 3 years of full-time BMET work experience, or you just have to have 4 years of full-time BMET work experience. So in reality, all of those options kind of leads to like a 4-year experience kind of turnaround time. And then once you meet one of those criteria and you take the CBET, then you are a certified biomed technician and you get the certificate and everything.
Okay, so if they want to find out and, look into it, would they just go to ACI to find those requirements to see if they qualify?
Yeah, so ACI actually has a candidate handbook that they can look up. It's actually on AMI's website, www.ami.org, or you can look up the ACI certification programs, and it's just a whole handbook that kind of goes over what each certification is, how are you eligible, payment, how much it costs, the application process, registration process. It goes through the testing windows, because the testing windows are only 2 times a year. There's one in the spring and one in the fall. So if you have to register and apply or whatever, and then, you get your code or whatever to sign on. So they send all of that to you.
So it sounds like it's pretty serious.
Yes.
And so how do you study for something like this? I've seen groups out there. Can you tell us more about if somebody's thinking about this? So where we just passed fall and I want to take it in the spring, is now a good time to sign up? And if it is, how do I study for this exam and what could be on the exam?
Yes. So in the handbook, it does break down the exams by percentage of type of questions. So for example, there's validation is approximately 25%. Sterilization is another 10%. It kind of walks them through each of the different certification tests and kind of gives them an idea of how much of that test is going to pertain to a certain subject matter. As for, signing up, the testing windows, are May 1st through the 15th and November 1st through the 15th. So the application process usually is about 30 days before that. So you have to apply at least 30 days before that. But if you are interested in doing like a study group or something like that, then yes, now would be the time to partake and look into those.
Do you offer one? I've seen you post about it or you're posting about another group. So I'm not sure if that's your group or...
Yes. I was doing the CHTM study group. We had a pretty successful couple of years doing it. However, Amy just brought me on board to help put together their official CHTM study group, where I will be doing the teaching of the course, as well as I'm putting together, along with some colleagues, some testing course material. So
awesome.
Very excited to be working. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I couldn't think of a better person.
Thank you. Well, and I saw a need for it a couple years ago and nobody really had it. And I was trying to get my CHTM and I was just like, you know what, if nobody's gonna have it or there's nothing offered, then I'll just do it myself. So
that's awesome, Angela. So do you have to do a study group in your own area or can you join study groups from other states?
It depends. So for the HTM, the CHTM one will be offered online through Amy. So they can sign up for that one. Once it goes live, you can sign up for that study group course and it'll actually be virtual. It'll be 2 hours for like a 4-week period, depending on the test. So the CBET is much more rigorous. So theirs is actually a little bit longer than the CHTM, but I mean, they get a lot of information. They can buy the study book, the study guide, or whatever that comes with it. I do know that there are a couple of companies who actually will pay for this. So, they'll pay for the study group. And if the team wants to meet together and, sign on at the same time and learn together, that's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. They just want to make sure that, they have enough people that makes it worth it. So,
right. So that being said, what's the difference if I'm a biomed and I have my CBET or my CHTM? Does one weigh more than the other, or are they viewed very similar?
So the CBET is just for biomedical equipment technicians, and then the CHTM is for the healthcare technology managers. So the CHTM is kind of geared more towards leaders. If management and leadership is what you're kind of interested in, that's what the CHTM is geared towards. It's more geared towards the leaders of HTM.
Gotcha. Now I follow a lot of different leaders in the healthcare technology management field, and I'm seeing more and more of them come up with that CHTM. Is that becoming more important to have a CBET versus a BMET on your team as a leader to those of you who are certified as managers?
Yes and no. I mean, having a certified BMET on your team as opposed to a non-certified BMET, it really kind of depends on the hospital system that they are working with, if they require that or kind of view that a little bit higher than just a non-certified. So it just kind of depends on the system that you're working for, the company that you work for, the value that they hold on it. I know that it's starting to weigh a little bit more just because, accreditation and really wanting to make sure that they have the Biomed team to support their hospital or company. And in reality, it's more or less the company. And if they require it or they'd recommend getting it, then that's where the weight comes in.
So if you're a BMET and become a CBET, can you expect, would it be natural to think you're going to get paid more? Or is that just, an extra title after your name?
I wouldn't expect to get paid more as a CBET. Again, it's going to vary on your company and or hospital system if they are going to make that offer. But in reality, just having that title or those letters after your name is kind of, that's a lot of pride that you can take on, and a lot of, it just, to me, it makes me feel like, okay, I've accomplished something. This is great. And I really have invested in myself. So seeing those letters really means a lot to me personally.
So Angela, with that all said, and I know that you have really worked hard to advance yourself in the field and to become a leader, what's some things that you would suggest a new BMET right now coming in? I have a daughter who's a new BMET. She's about a year and a half in. If you could talk to her today, what are you going to tell these guys that are out there 1, 2 years? What should they be looking and should they start planning to advance their career this way?
Yeah, it did. First things first is I would definitely say stick with it. This field has its ups and downs, just like every other field does. But it's in reality, it's kind of a time thing. You have to have time in your role in order to get promoted. You have to have specialties or training. So just be patient, request to go to all the trainings that you can, request to get all the knowledge that you can, because that's just going to make you a better BMET. And then if you have a succession plan where you see yourself being a manager, leader, any sort of specialist that, would require you to take those additional steps, start looking into it now. Because a lot of the trainings are planned out and get filled up pretty quick. So it just kind of, I would say, don't give up and just kind of really come up with a succession plan for yourself. So that way, the plan that you're going to be on.
And, in watching you, I don't think you're afraid of change either. I worked with you in different assignments, and I love to see that your next venture. Is that what keeps you going, or just trying to, get to the next level? And what drives you, Angela?
Well, in the military, they say if you ever want to get promoted or do something different, you have to be willing to move. So I've done quite a bit of that movement. Most of it has been onward and upward. I see an opportunity, and I just really have been given the opportunities by my superiors in the past as well. So, you just have to be flexible. This field is a very small field. And, if you're kind of in that mode where you don't want to move, you never want to move, you never really want to do anything else and you're complacent, that's fine. But if you ever want to succeed or do something else and you're just not patient like myself, you just kind of have to take that control and really make sure that you have a control on your own future. Because there's always going to be opportunities. It's just a matter of, are you willing to actually, take those steps to get there?
And what keeps you so positive every day? You are just a positive force. You're just the light in the day. Your posts are always positive. Tell me, what drives you in that arena?
Honestly, it's just been experience. There's a lot of negative in the world, and I just don't really want to feed into it. Because with healthcare and COVID that happened and still occurring, and in healthcare, it's always changing, and it's always something to be excited about. Yes, I do have my bad days. Yes, there are days where I just want to say, okay, you know what? taking a day off.
Great to go.
But I mean, for the most part, I mean, the support that I've had from my family, the support that I've had from my companies that I've worked for, the support from my team, you know, and just trying to be that positive light for them, because sometimes they just need it. Sometimes they just need that positive influence to kind of make their day a little better. And I just don't see a point in being negative a whole lot, because it just doesn't do anything for you. It just doesn't.
You're right. You're right.
So, but yeah.
If you're talking to other healthcare technology managers, right? And I think culture is a big thing that we're not addressing the elephant in the room, especially with shops. And how would you say you could evolve and change that? I know it comes from way up high in the hospital system, maybe you're in your company with an ISO, but how have you come to change it and drive your staff to study and advance? Because I'm sure you're always poking. I can see you now. Are you studying? Are you going to take the test?
I think I just hold them accountable. Holding the team accountable for their, you know, they come to me and say, hey, I want to do this training. Okay, well, this is what I need from you. You know, holding them accountable, making sure that they're respecting each other, making sure they're having courtesy for each other, making sure that, you know, I'm providing the resources to them to help them be successful. Because as a leader, you know, that's my main goal. That's my main job, is to make sure that my team has the resources and the tools that they need to succeed. Everything else just kind of takes care of itself. And it's always kind of been a living proof to me in my career that if I take care of my team, they're definitely going to take care of the hospital or the company. So, yeah, I just try to support them and anything that they need. And, you know, in return, I get support. So it's been really nice.
I love that. That's a great way to manage. So before we jumped on the podcast, we were kind of talking about CEU credits, which if you're listening on any other platform, if you also listen through TechNation, you do get a CEU credit for HTM Insider. But what's required when you are certified to maintain that status? Is it yearly? And how many, and what does that involve?
Yeah, so CEUs is basically, you know, once you get your certification, you know, how do you manage it? How do you continue to maintain it? Because, you know, with any other certification, there are things that you are required to do in order to hold that certification. Otherwise, the certification expires or it doesn't, it kind of goes voided. So the way that the maintaining of the certifications for HTM work is you earn CEUs. You have to get about 30 for over 3 years. But you have to be able to record that in your continuing practice journals. And again, it explains all of that in the ACI candidate handbook for the certifications. Because I believe every certification has a little bit of a different requirement. And it also breaks down the different CEUs and how much they weigh and, you know, how to obtain them. Yeah, and it just, for example, when you write items for ACI, 5 items is 1 CEU. So it's simple things that HTM professionals can do to, you know, promote, number one, the HTM field, and also, you know, kind of progress this field along, because, you know, again, this field is very small and we can use all the help that we can get. So if somebody can write an article or do a blog or something promoting HTM and sharing information, what we do, how we do it, really gets excited. You know, that kind of promotes other people to maybe want to join the field. And it just kind of helps, it kind of helps make this field a little bit more exciting to join. It's not as monotonous. So, you know, CEUs are a great way to maintain your certification, as well as, you know, helping out the field as well.
What about conferences? You know, I see CEUs credits are attached. I've actually presented classes that have been certified. What's the importance of attending these conferences and these trainings?
So the conferences and trainings usually weigh more than just writing a couple of articles. So it's an easy way to get those CEUs and be present for those conferences and like the ANI Exchange and all of that. They weigh a little more because they take a little more effort. They take a little more time to collect. So trainings are a perfect example of collecting, a couple of CEUs per hour. It's just, to me, I think they're a lot easier if you have the ability to do them.
So probably, since you're looking at 30 over 3 years, you got to focus on 10 a year, right? Which is 2 months off if you just did one a month. Or if you go to a conference, you pick up 3 CEUs, you listen to a couple HTM Insider episodes, write a few ACI, documents. I think it's really doable. I think that makes sense. And it really keeps you fresh too, don't you think?
Yes, I agree with you. And like the medical field is always changing. So there might be some things that change along with it in the HTM field that, if you consider yourself a subject matter expert or have a thought or an opinion about it, it's kind of like your voice. Like you can share that with others, and you never know, you might meet somebody who has the same opinion or really is interested in that, and they just didn't know that it existed.
I got to tell you, I was on a call. I know Alabama's trying to get their association up and running. And I got to tell you, you've really impressed some people there that they say that she thinks outside the box. Yes. And that you're just energetic and you like to ask the why. Not just because someone said so or someone's done it that way before. So that is truly who I appreciate you as a person in this field, to be that beacon of light, and change is okay, and driving to something better. That's just awesome, Angela.
Thank you very much. Sometimes I feel like I'm a nuisance, but for the most part, I feel like as a young female leader in this field, me asking questions really shows that I'm really trying to understand and trying to better the field and trying to better the processes. A lot of people don't ask questions and then they just nod along and, move along. But I like to stop and ask questions to make sure that I understand, and I like to gain knowledge that way. So if I can learn from somebody else to not reinvent the wheel, then why not?
Yep. And I want the listeners to really think about that. It doesn't always have to be because we've always done it that way. Mm-hmm. Sure, there are requirements, right? There's guidelines, there's checklists. We have to do things this way because of a format, of patient safety. But get the why out. Ask the questions. When you're at these conferences, ask the questions. That's what experts like Angela and everyone else who attends, presents, they want you to ask questions. They want you to be involved. Amy wants you to be involved.
Absolutely. Yes. Asking questions, I feel like that's the main reason we do those conferences and trainings. We want people to come and ask questions. We want people to come and learn. We want people, to learn from others. And if there's somebody who has been in the field for a very long time and they have, such great information and, just great feedback, why not ask them questions?
Right. So let's recap on where they should go to find the information. And I don't even have to ask you this, but I know that anybody can reach out to you, right? That you've been happy to point them in the right direction, or maybe to a study group, or answer the why.
Yeah, so I know that LinkedIn is a very good resource to find different things that are out there, but ANI.org, I'll say it again, ANI.org, they've got all sorts of good information to where you can find, the ACI handbook to get more knowledge about how to apply for being certified. They have information, they put out forums, they put out articles, just kind of all over the HTM field. So, gray lists and staff modeling and stuff like that. So me as a leader, if I really just have a question and I'm like, I wonder how they do that, my first go-to is ANI, just because they're they're the HTM leaders, I feel like, in this this career field. So, and usually they have a blog or an article or something that has been posted and published. They do have a lot of groups that come together and meet and put together the documentation and the information that's put out and published. So they work really hard to make sure that they're putting out accurate information for the whole field and to be able to support us out there. So Amy, HTM, 24/7, TechNation, all of those are great resources. So if you have any questions, if you can't find it one place, I'm sure you'll find it in another.
Yep. And I know Amy has a lot of boards, and they're always looking for new people to sit on a board of some sort, right? So don't be afraid to reach out, listeners, and either to Angela or Danielle, someone that if you want to get more involved, don't be afraid.
Absolutely. I went in my first year, I think I was part of like 3 committees. So it was great. I mean, I learned a lot. And right now I'm only on 1 for them, but I'm very excited about the new chapter for the HTM or the CHTM study group that I've been asked to kind of lead and own. So very excited to be part of that. So
that's really exciting. Yeah. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're going to wrap it up today. So we always end every segment with the wow word or words of wisdom that you can believe. Anything you want to share with the listeners, it's all yours.
You know, I say it almost every time on all of my publishings. You know, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. And I truly kind of live by that. So it's never really work when you love what you do and you love doing it.
I love that. And I love you. And I just stay happy and amazing and strong and fierce. I mean, it's a joy to watch you and your career. And it's really been a pleasure having you on today.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you guys know where you can find us. Any place you listen to your podcast. You know, I'd like you to like, comment, share, and you can always contact myself or Angela if you have any questions. I can put you in the right direction. I know for sure Angela can. So if you have any more questions about becoming a certified BMET or the CHTM process, you know, give us a ring, a shout out on LinkedIn or something, and we're here to help. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and have a great day.
Thank you, Angela, for a great presentation. If you enjoyed today's episode, you might enjoy our ongoing webinar series, Webinar Wednesday. You can find a calendar of upcoming live webinars, as well as an archive of on-demand webinars at webinarwednesday.live. To obtain your certificate for 1 CE credit from the ACI, please remember to click the link located below this podcast title to complete today's survey. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com.